Yo, it's time for me to answer questions because that's what I do here on the TJ Do's Life channel. That's what I'm made for. So, without further ado, the way we're going to do this is I scroll through the questions and I pick them at random. I don't select which ones I think are best or anything like that. I just allow random chance to dictate the content of the video. So let's see, what's our first question going to be? Let's find out. What political party do you identify with? I pinpoint you as a libertarian, but I'm not sure. Well, you know, at one point in my life, I would have identified as a libertarian. At this point in my life, I don't really identify with any major political party. Well, there's really only two in America that are major, but you know, I don't identify with any of the political parties because they all suck. At least all the ones I've seen. You know, I do have a libertarian streak in me, but I can't really be a libertarian because they're just like libertarians. They just say like they want to cut NASA. I don't want to cut NASA. I like NASA. I think we should fund NASA more. I believe in a social safety net. I believe in Social Security. I believe in Medicare. Fuck, I believe in universal health care, for fuck's sake. But on liberty, I do agree with the libertarians. I think that maximizing personal liberty is a desirable thing. Now, where libertarians and I start to differ drastically is they view the collection of taxes as coercive. Or they think taxes are way too high. They basically think, you know, taxes are basically a form of stealing. That, you know, if the government, you know, because the government, you know, and it really is a form of stealing. I mean, I'll give them that. It is a form of stealing, but it's just necessary. I mean, there's no alternative. The alternative is, I mean, either we have a government that taxes us and they you know, provide things like roads and infrastructure and the social safety net that I just mentioned, or we don't have that. And they think that if we don't have that, we have more freedom because we're not paying taxes. But actually, we have less freedom. I mean, freedom doesn't do a lot of good if you contract some sort of disease or you get cancer or something like that and you have no means to pay for it. I mean, what good does your liberty do you in that situation? I would rather have the right to live, honestly. I mean, there's been a very popular meme going around the internet lately. It's basically of America, the country, you know, the shape of our country, wearing the scumbag Steve hat, and it says, if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided to you, which is part of the Miranda rights. But and then beneath it says, if you cannot afford health care, lol, tough shit, bro. You know, so it's a country where everyone would agree that it's a grave injustice if you can be detained without trial or charge, or if you have no means of affording a lawyer. Everyone agrees that that would be unfair. But when it comes to something like, oh, I'm sick and I'm going to die, everyone's like, oh, well, if you can't afford that, you know, just whatever. Who gives a shit? Go ahead and die, you poor piece of shit. So that's why I don't really identify with the libertarians anymore, because I do recognize that there is that you know, some form of governance is valid. I mean, if you look at the popularity of these social programs, they're sky high. I mean, no one really wants to get rid of Social Security. I mean, some people do, but it's a minority. No one really wants to get rid of Medicare or Medicaid. No one really wants to. I mean, no one really wants to cut these social programs for the most part. So, you know, really, I mean, if there was some social program that was just massively unpopular and no one liked it, then cutting it would make sense. But the fact is that most people have agreed that this system is the best. So, I mean, at some point, maybe we'll come up with something better. Maybe we'll come up with something where no one has to pay taxes, but we can still manage to do all the shit that we need to do to have a functional country. But we haven't figured it out yet. We haven't cracked that nut. So I think that libertarians are jumping the gun a bit on that one. So that's my opinion, and I'm sure libertarians will tell me how I'm wrong and how I have totally mischaracterized them, and I'm an idiot, and how if we I mean, like, I hear them say a lot, well, you know, it's only because we rely on the government that we have these problems. If we just get rid of the government, or we just, you know, minimize the government's power and just turn it into this little thing that really doesn't have any sort of ability to affect serious change and isn't really a major player as a social force, then private charities and stuff will spring up to fill the gap. I mean, but if that were the case, then wouldn't private charities have already sprung up to fill our major gaps? I mean, because we lag way behind every country in healthcare. So if the idea of libertarians is, you know, private institutions will pick up the slack, why hasn't that already happened? Why does anyone in our country die of treatable illness? Why does that happen at all if, you know, there's all these charities that are just going to spring up and you know, fix all of the problems that the government doesn't take care of? I mean, we've seen that our healthcare outcomes are not as good as other countries that have universal healthcare, and the fucked up thing is we pay more. Why do we pay more for worse results? Doesn't make sense. Okay, let's scroll down. What are your thoughts on the Blair Witch Project? Jesus Christ, did I fucking step into a time warp to like 1998 or whenever the fuck that piece of shit movie came out? I mean, like, at this point, isn't the Blair Witch Project just its own genre of horror? I mean, now you got these fucking Paranormal Activity movies, which are really just Blair Witch 2.0. I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, basically they've figured out a way to scam us into seeing movies that are designed to look like they were shot on a shitty camcorder. It's like, it's kind of the greatest scam in history if you think about it. Like, oh, we'll just make it seem like this is just some home movie, and then people will fucking go pay and see it. Like, at least with Cloverfield, there was some like big level special effects, and no one could have mistaken the quality of Cloverfield for an actual fucking camcorder of any kind. Not on the fucking, you know, consumer market level. I mean, that camera could do anything. Like, the fucking camera in Cloverfield, like, it could be eaten by a monster and then spit back out, and it's still just perfectly fine. In real life, they don't make cameras quite that durable, at least none that I have found. If anyone does know of a camera that durable, let me know, because I could use something like that. I'm rough on my equipment sometimes. Have you ever trusted someone and paid dearly for it? I want to know because I have. Isn't that part of the human condition? I mean, isn't that everybody? Hasn't everybody at one point or another trusted someone that they shouldn't have? I admit that I'm kind of worse about it than most people, because I tend to trust people that everyone around me is telling me, don't trust that motherfucker. Cody Weber, good example. Case, Fake Sagan. You all know about Fake Sagan. Well, you probably don't, but some of you do. You know, there's been plenty of people. I mean, there have been other people whose names you wouldn't know that I've trusted for one thing or another, and they've let me down. And I'm sure that some people would say that I'm the one that fucking let them down, because, you know, human beings, we just occasionally find that our interests conflict. We decide that we're in the right even if we're not. And, you know, sometimes there just isn't any right. Sometimes there's just different opinions about what happened or what was agreed upon, and then, you know, you're fucked. That's why human beings have to draft up contracts and stuff if they're going to interact in any sort of, like, business capacity. Because unless the terms are all written down there on a piece of paper for everyone to see, then everyone's going to decide that the terms were different, that the terms were actually something that more benefited them. Because we have that, memory is fucking shit to begin with. I mean, we think of our memories as being something that just captures the truth. And we remember everything with 100% accuracy. I mean, that's like the great fallacy of human beings, is that we think our memories are way more reliable than they actually are. But, they've done studies on things like eyewitness testimony for trials and shit, and discovered that, really our memories are not that great. We misremember things all the time. We don't remember, we don't remember, maybe someone was wearing a red jacket. The next day we could swear up and down they were wearing a blue jacket. And if anyone fucking tells us they were wearing a red jacket, we'll be like, what are you, a fucking idiot? I remember what color fucking jacket he was wearing. So, I mean, memory's not reliable. And, so, I mean, it kind of just... I forgot. I've totally lost my train of thought. I don't remember. What was the original topic I was talking about? I'm looking on the screen like, what one was I answering? Oh, the trust one. Right. So, I mean, if you trust somebody, and it's kind of funny, I was talking about memory, and then I forgot what I was talking about. But, yeah, you see what I'm saying there. You trust somebody, you have this arrangement with someone, you remember the arrangement one way, they remember the arrangement another way. And so you can both walk around feeling like you were the one wronged because you're only relying on your memory. You didn't have it all written down. So my one piece of advice to anyone is if you're entering into any sort of important arrangement with someone, write the terms down. Even if you're not going to create like a legally binding contract, write down an agreed upon set of directives like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what you're going to do, and that's what's expected of each of us, and here's what each of us gets in return. Just to have some record of what the actual agreement was. Because if you don't have that, then it's open for interpretation. Anyone can fucking decide what the truth is based on their faulty fucking memory. And then, of course, some people will just lie. Some people will know that that wasn't what the agreement was, or that's not, how things went. But they'll just lie because they want to, because they want something to benefit them. They're opportunistic. They're not looking to fucking suffer some dire consequences for something they did wrong. So they're going to lie. They're going to act like, oh, I was just confused. You weren't confused, motherfucker. You're lying. But that's something you got to take care of. Do you play computer games? If so, what are they? The last computer game I played was Fallout New Vegas, and that was quite some time ago. I don't remember, maybe 2 or 3 years, I want to say. Maybe I'm misremembering that length of time, but I played it when it was new, and I know it's really not new anymore. So you can tell I don't play a lot of those games. And actually, if I did play a game on my computer again, it would probably just be Fallout New Vegas once more, because I've always wanted to play it a little bit differently than I played it the first couple of times I played it. So, yeah, I'm a lame motherfucker when it comes to that. I'm kind of a creature of habit, I guess, when it comes to games. I don't really trust anything new. I only want to do something I've already done before. And, I do kind of keep somewhat appraised of what games are coming out and shit, but a lot of things are just too fucking complicated for me. I mean, there's just like, okay, if you just... I'll be watching like a trailer for a game, and it's like, okay, and then you have the option to do this and this and this, and there's so much fucking different actions you could take. I'm like, yeah, which means there's so much bullshit you have to memorize. I have more important shit to be thinking about than how to make some fucking pointless character do some pointless action so that I can have some semblance of catharsis about whatever. I'm too busy to fuck with that. But, I don't have anything against people who play games or anything. But just not really for me. Okay, we already saw this. I already answered that question. New question. How many condoms can fit on your penis? I don't know. Why would I need more than one? That's just strange. Okay. What's going on here? Why do I keep coming across the same fucking questions? Did some of you people just submit your same question 50 times in the vague hope that you'd have a higher chance of it being read? Which would work as a strategy, by the way. But don't do that, because it's annoying. As a Manson fan, what do you think of Born Villain compared to his older work? Also, is your favorite Manson song? I kind of combined song and thong in my head just now. Is your favorite Manson song still The Reflecting God? The Reflecting God has never been my favorite Manson song. It is what I was trying to... It's what I think is the best Manson song. Like, trying to be objective. I mean, I know that it's pointless to try to be objective about art, but I was trying to remove my own personal taste from the equation and just look at the piece on its own merit, and not look at, what I'm putting into it or what I'm taking out of it, but just self-contained, remove my ego from the equation entirely, and that was what I felt was the best song. But I never felt it was my favorite song. There is a distinction. I do think it's a great song, but it's never been my favorite. As for my opinion of Born Villain, it is probably my favorite Manson album, just because I've always been more fond of a band's later work than their earlier work. I mean, there's certain exceptions to that, but usually I feel like most artists get better with time, even if they get less popular or they get less acclaim. I kind of think that you really do get better as you go along. I think that the problem with people is that they judge everything against the earlier works. Whenever I listen to something new, I remove my memory of anything that came before it. I mean, as much as I can, I'm like, okay, no, fuck everything that came before. I am going to appraise this on its own merits. And that's also why, coincidentally, I may be the only motherfucking person that thinks The Hobbit is better than any of the Lord of the Rings movies. Because I really feel like it's better. And I feel like if it had come out first, everyone would say it was better. But because the Lord of the Rings movies came first, everyone thinks The Hobbit is just some inferior cash-in. But I actually think Peter Jackson has gotten a lot better at telling this particular kind of story. So I actually like it better. I think it's better. I think the characters are more developed. I think it has more depth. I think it's actually a lot better as an adaptation, because I've now read The Hobbit and I kind of see how they did it. I mean, I see the things they changed, but every change that was made in that movie, I can understand why it was done that way. It doesn't feel like the work has been desecrated in any way to me. Whereas with the Lord of the Rings movies, I can see that there's been there was changes made that really don't make any sense to me. But I've not actually read the fucking actual Lord of the Rings books. I just know the actual plot points and the narrative structure and all this stuff, but I am reading them now, so maybe my opinion will change after that. So ask me again in a couple of fucking months or whatever what I thought, and maybe my opinion will change. Also, I've not seen the extended cuts of the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies. I feel like maybe those might be better. I honestly think that part of the reason The Hobbit is better is because he's telling the story of one book in 3 movies, whereas last time each book just got 1 movie. I feel like maybe the Lord of the Rings series actually should have been 6 or 9 movies, so that he could have the more deliberate pace that he set in The Hobbit, which I think worked a lot better for the story. But that's just my opinion. Obviously. I don't even know why people say that. That's just my opinion. Of course, who the fuck's else opinion is it? Alright. I'm going to change the way I'm sitting here. So bear with me while I do that. You fucking cunts. Don't judge me for the way I sit. Hey TJ, what are your view on French, in particular French Canadian? Thanks for answering my question. Thanks for asking my question. What the fuck is wrong with me? Well, I am a 4th French, so I'm obviously not anti-French. And I kind of have a French attitude. I'm very snooty, so that makes sense to me. French Canadian, I fucking have no opinion of whatsoever because I don't even I've never met a French Canadian. I've never been to Canada. I am actually wearing a Canada hat though, which is kind of ironic. But this is something that my brother brought back on one of his trips from Canada because he has a Canadian girlfriend. But yeah, I've never been to Canada, so I have no opinion on the French Canadians. TJ, what books do you recommend about society, like Steven Pinker's book, How the Mind Works? Well, books about society. I mean, every book is about society, really, isn't it? I mean, even books that are about, say, nature, like fucking praying, like someone writes a book about the praying mantis or something. Isn't that in some way about society? Because, I mean, the praying mantis has a society too, and without a society, there is nobody to study the praying mantis. There is no science with which to examine the praying mantis's biology and his lifestyle and whatever else the praying mantis does. So, I mean, every book tells us something about society, but, I mean, books about society, I mean, most people kind of focus in a little bit more than that. Not a lot of people are just gonna like sit down and I'm gonna write a book about society. My friend Howard Bloom wrote a book entitled The Genius of the Beast, which is about capitalism, but really it's about society because it's about the evolution of commerce, and it's about novelty, and it's about why, in Howard Bloom's opinion, societies, economies contract and expand, and why we go through busts and booms and recessions and depressions and surpluses and all that sort of stuff, why that actually happens. And he views it as part of a mechanism for survival that you can see even in things like bacteria and you know, animals and so on and so forth. Like, he views it as ingrained in nature. So that's a good book on society. Even if you don't agree with his hypothesis, it's still interesting to read about. I'm drawing a blank as to other books that are just like, this is a book about society. And also, How the Mind Works really is not a book about society. I don't know. There's just not many books that take that broad of an approach. Maybe there should be. Maybe there should be more big picture type of books out there that are like, here's the entire human condition, you know, summarized. Like, that could be a human condition for dummies. I think they should write that. Everyone can just look into it and be like, now I understand. I see the folly of man now. What do you think of your former friend's new career choice? He begs for tokens whilst performing sex acts on his girlfriend in various live chats, and he still seems to be addicted to pot. I'm sure you know of who I'm speaking. Well, that sounds like Cody to me. I don't give a shit about him performing sex acts on camera. I mean, that's fine. Who gives a shit? I mean, that's his business. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, at least he's doing something for his money at that point. I mean, he's giving people a show. That's always good. You know what? Whatever. I'm sick and tired of fucking talking about Cody Weber. I've been subscribed for 5 years. Good stuff, bro. Dark Knight Rises. Opinion? I like The Dark Knight Rises. It wasn't my favorite movie of the year, but it's probably in my top 10, which I gotta do, by the way. I didn't do a top 10 movies in 2011 because just there weren't even 10 movies that were worth a shit. 2012 has been a much better year. Much better year for movies. But yeah, The Dark Knight Rises is a good flick, and I'm sure you'll see it crop up my list. And thanks for being a subscriber for so long. God damn it, I'm burping. These fucking videos, man. How big is your penis when erect? I don't know. You know, I've never sat there and measured. I know that my penis is an asshole. Not a literal asshole, of course, because that would be weird if I had an asshole where my penis should be. My penis is an asshole because, you know, like, it looks small, soft. It just does. It's like it. But I lost weight because, you know, there's like the reason my dick looks so fucking small is because I've got a bunch of fat, like around it that just like, okay, here's the dick, okay, and then here's the fat that hides most of it. You probably couldn't hear that because it's muffled. So here's the dick, and then here's the layer of fat right here that hides most of the fucking dick. So what happened is I lost some weight. I went from 335, dear God, to 290, slightly less, dear God, and the fat receded. But then what my dick did was it's like, okay, I'm cold, I'm gonna go back in. Fuck you, dick. But, however, the good thing is that now when I get an erection, my dick is significantly bigger than it used to be when I had an erection. So the dick now comes out a lot further when I get hard. Probably about, I don't know, 6 inches, just normal. It's respectable now. Before, when I was 335, even when I had a boner, I just looked in the mirror and was like, oh dear God, this is the worst dick I've ever seen. Now I can look at it and be like, that's okay. You know, it's all right now. It could use a bit more thickness for sure, but at least it has some respectable length. You know, so that's about as much about my dick as you probably ever wanted to hear. So let's go back down. Why do we perceive beauty? That is a question for an evolutionary psychologist or something like that. Or maybe just a sociobiologist. I don't know. It's not a question for me because I have no fucking clue. But I'm sure there is an evolutionary explanation that you could look up on Google, which is probably a better place for that kind of question. What is your opinion on homosexuals and bisexuals? Burn them at the stake! You know, obviously, being a bisexual myself, yes, I have no problem with them. Homosexuals can bother me, honestly, if they become flamboyant. Like, oh my God! But that's not to do with their sexuality. I don't give a shit about the dick thing. Like, suck a dick here, take another dick in your ass. I just don't like the campy, yeah! It just, that bothers me. Lots of fucking human behaviors bother me, though. Like, there's plenty of fucking, you know, like, I also don't like, I mean, I'm gonna fucking kick your ass, bitch! Fuck you, I'll fuck you up! Like, that also does not really sit well with me. Like, so, I don't like macho fucking dudes that are like, I'm gonna kick your fucking ass, bitch! I mean, like, I don't like that either. There's lots of human behaviors I don't like. But, you know, the act of being male and fucking looking at a dick and saying, damn, that looks nice, that doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me one bit. How could it? You've stated that you don't like to be out in public too much because mob mentality. But seriously, what are the changes that you'll have an angry mob against? Oh, chances. He didn't say chances, but that's what he meant. What are the chances that you'll have an angry mob against you? Is your fear irrational? Also, do you think your height, which makes you stand out in the crowd, literally contributes to your fear? Would it be easier for you if you were average height? You know, it's not... I don't have a fear of a literal mob. I just have a fear of the mob. I mean, I'm not, like, envisioning a mob turning against me with, like, pitchforks and shit. But I'm just afraid of any organism that functions like that. I'm just afraid of the hive mind in general. I'm also afraid that I might be swept up in it, even though I am not really a joiner, I'm not really a group person, but, like, it's just very odd to me the way human beings behave, and plus, even individual people are kind of annoying to me. Like, for example, today I was in P.F. Chang's, which is a generic Americanized Chinese restaurant, but I like it. And there was a guy there that was sitting at the table next to me, and he was talking about like how people with tattoos are like scum, and he hates them, and that they're lazy, and that they're not professional, and blah, blah, blah. And this pissed me off. I don't even have tattoos myself, but I know people with tattoos, and they're just as, you know, I mean, there's obviously lazy people with tattoos, but for the most part, they're just as industrious as any fucking buddy else. So it pissed me off, because I don't like bigots. So I desperately wanted to go and fucking sock him in his stupid face and tell him to shut the fuck up. But of course I didn't do it because, you know, you can't just fucking punch everyone you disagree with. But it's uncomfortable to even want to do that. It's uncomfortable to be in a room where there's someone else in the room that you desperately want to do violence upon, but you can't because it's, you know, the consequences aren't fucking worth it. So that bothers me too. But yeah, I'm just a violent fuck. Who is your favorite comedian, TJ? My favorite comedian, dead, is George Carlin. My favorite comedian of all time, I should say. It's not like he's my favorite comedian just because he's dead. But he's my favorite comedian ever. My favorite living comedian, my favorite comedian working today is probably... I'm going to say Patton Oswalt. Even though he's not exactly... Like, Patton Oswalt, he's not really, like, subversive, or he's not, like... He's not like, oh, I'm gonna fucking... He's not like, I'm gonna fucking tell you the truth. I'm gonna tell you the fucking truths that other comedians won't fucking come up here and say because they ain't got the balls. He's not that kind of comedian, but I just think he's funny. Every fucking bit that he does just works for me. I have a similar sense of humor. So yeah, I just enjoy what he does. So he's a cool guy. I don't know that for sure. He might be a total dick, but he is cool when he's on stage doing his thing, at least. Also like Doug Stanhope. I like Doug Stanhope. Yeah. There was another one I liked. Fuck. Who was it? I don't remember. There's someone else I like too. Oh, Ricky Gervais is good. I wouldn't follow his Twitter. His Twitter sucks, but he's funny when he does a fucking show. I believe you said you don't like to socialize much with people in real life. We already answered that. It was a different phrasing, but we already answered the same basic question, so let's skip that. Thoughts on Jesse Ventura? You know, I kind of like Jesse Ventura. I don't really get into that whole conspiracy theory kind of shit. He's kind of wacky in that regard, but I do like that he's crazy. You know, he's crazy in the way... Like, sometimes only a crazy person can speak the truth on certain issues. It's just a fact, because there's certain things that you're just not supposed to say, and sometimes it takes a crazy person to just come out and say it. And Jesse Ventura is oftentimes that crazy person. And that's always good. Do you make more than the average American family, roughly $45K a year? Yes, I do make more than that, so. Potatoes or squids? Potatoes. I don't know, squids. I don't know. It's kind of... I wouldn't eat a squid. I wouldn't eat a squid. I wouldn't eat a squid, but I would eat a potato. But I like squids aesthetically, and I like things with tentacles. Not for any sort of hentai reasons, just because I like tentacles. They just fascinate me. And I like the way squids look, and I especially like the colossal squids that fucking fight whales and shit. So I guess I can't decide, because it's just too different. I don't know by what metric I can compare them, because one is something that I enjoy to eat, and the other is just something that fascinates me. How do you feel about David Lynch movies, you son of a bitch? Pretentious garbage. I get a lot of film fans get pissed at me for not liking David Lynch, but it's boring. It's boring, and it's banal, and it's trivial, and it's stupid, and I don't give a shit. Just everything he makes just bores the fuck out of me. I know that he's trying to be deep, and he's like one of these directors that's always like, yes, I'm gonna make him think. But the only thing he ever makes me think is, dear God, this is the most boring fucking movie I've ever had to sit through in my life. So I don't watch David Lynch movies anymore. He sucks. TJ, do you love me? No, I don't. Sorry, don't know you. I like you, just on the basis that you watch my videos, but I can't love you. I'm sorry. When you started the TAA channel, did you have an ultimate goal you wanted to accomplish with it? If so, what was that goal specifically, and is it still the same now, or have your priorities changed in terms of where you want to end up? When I started the TAA channel, I guess my goal was just to have a hobby, because I didn't have any hobbies. Then I had a hobby, and it was like, yay, hobby. And then I started making money at the hobby, and I was like, oh, I guess that it's a hobby that makes me money now. And then at some point, it's like, I have to make a video, because if I don't, then I don't have any money. So then it became a job. And, when it became a job, I started taking it more seriously, and at some point, I kind of started looking at it as a craft, and now I kind of think in terms of YouTube videos. When I have a thought, I'm like, would that make a good video? It's just some stupid thing that enters the back of my mind, and then I'm like, maybe that would work. Can I rape your face, please? And that appears to be a girl saying that. How would a girl rape my face? Would she just stick her pussy in my face and be like, yeah, lick, faggot? Okay, that sounds good. Let's do it. We're going to do this for an hour. We're going to go 1 hour with this boring shit. So only the most hardcore fans will stick through the whole thing. Most of you are probably already gone. How is your novel coming along, and have you named it yet? I'm actually going to be putting out a book before I put out the novel. There's a book that's going to come out in January, most likely. I have not yet named it, but it's a collection of essays. I'm just working on tweaking the essays and working on the order and working on trying to, kind of give them a little bit more of a tied together feel, so that there's an overarching theme to the book. But it's a collection of essays, and that'll be coming out in January, and hopefully it will be popular and well liked and well received. As for my novel, I haven't worked on it for a while. I completed a rough draft quite some time ago, but I've just been so busy, it's hard to find time to work on the fucking thing. But hopefully, when things settle down and I get this fucking not productive website launched finally, and I get this other book out, and the YouTube channel is just going smooth, and then I can find some time to work on my fucking novel and get that fucking shit done. And I'm probably gonna actually try to find a literary agent and shop that around and see if I can get an actual publisher interested in it. If not, I'll probably just self-publish the fucking thing like I self-publish everything else. Or I might just put it out as a fucking ebook. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But at some point, that will manifest, and it is entitled The Fruit Fly Condition. So, yeah. Oh. Any other fights you have gotten into? No, not really. The fight that I got into at Orlando Studios was pretty much my adult life fight. I mean, every other fight I ever got into when I was, young, when I was going to school. Most of my adult life, I've never gotten in any sort of fights or altercations, because I don't really go places where that shit happens. I'm when I go out, I go to restaurants and movie theaters and other places where, no one else is really going to approach you and talk to you. Me going to Universal Studios was the rare exception to that sort of thing, and of course I get into a fucking fight. So obviously I'm just not meant to be in that kind of place. But yeah, usually I don't even get into many altercations with people, so it was very strange that I got in that fight. But it happened, and whatever. I feel like I came out better, even though I did injure my leg. Because it wasn't him that injured my leg. It was fucking Holly that injured my leg by trying to pull me off, his dumbass. TJ, why do you only watch stupid films? That's not true. I watch plenty of smart films. Just not David Lynch. Because I think his films are stupid. Do you plan on bringing back the Long Video Sunday in the future? No. Long Video Sunday, I mean, I know it was kind of popular, but... most it got to the point where I would just wake up on Sunday and just be like, oh, I have to do Long Video Sunday. I don't want to. I don't have that much to fucking talk about. The fuck am I going to say? I don't fucking have anything. I can't talk for that long. I mean, these question videos are probably the longest videos you'll see me do, because you guys are generating the ideas. I'm just riffing on whatever the fuck you're bringing to me. That's easy. Someone's just like, what do you think of fish? And I'm like, fucking fish is delicious. I love fish. There's certain fish I like, there's certain fish I don't like, you know? And then it's just like, okay, I've filled time talking. These people are gonna listen to me talk about fish because they're just as bored as I fucking am. And this is a fucking stupid-ass little daily vlog, and no one fucking expects anything exceptional, so I could talk about fish. But if I'm doing Long Video Sunday, it's like, oh shit, I gotta find a bunch of things that are actually relevant to talk about, and then I gotta fucking come up with intelligent ideas and opinions. I'd much rather just put out a 6-minute video, because then I can really develop an opinion, I can fucking develop the presentation, and just do that. So I mean that's why you'll probably never see me do like Long Video Sunday again. It's just not a concept I enjoyed. I know it has its fans, and I'm sorry that I'm never gonna do it again, but I'm never gonna do it again. So really, I'm not that sorry. How did you and Holly meet, and how did you know she was the one? We met on MySpace back when MySpace was a thing. She wrote me and told me that my nipples looked like chameleon eyes, and you know, then we started talking, and I don't know. I mean, there wasn't like some big moment where it's like, this is the one, because I mean, I didn't even believe in that kind of shit. I wasn't like, I wasn't looking for the one. I was just looking for someone, and you know. When I started fucking telling her all the weird shit on my head, and, you know, most people, when I start talking about the weird shit in my head, they're like, okay, well, you're crazy, bye. But she was like, okay, cool, yeah, me too. I was like, all right, that sounds good. I guess we're fucking weird freaks together. So, then it all worked out. Why do you crave to know personal information? Oh, why do we crave to know? There is actually no word there. It's just why do crave. But what he meant to say was, why do we crave to know personal information about people we admire? I don't know, because you admire them and you want to know more. I mean, doesn't it seem just natural? I mean, it's like human beings are just like any other subject matter. Like if you are watching a TV show late one night and it's about cavemen and you're like, damn, Neanderthals sure were interesting, you're going to go to the fucking Wikipedia page and read about fucking Neanderthals. It's just natural that if something compels us, we're going to be interested to know more. I mean, that's just that's like the definition of being compelling, isn't it? Do you think morals are separate to politics? I don't even know what the fuck that question means. I'm going to have to skip that one. Are you ever going to wax/laser your ass hair easier to wipe? I don't have a lot of ass hair, strangely. I mean, I got a lot of hair in a lot of places that I really don't want hair, but on my ass, there's not a lot. There's a little, but it's very fine and blonde, and it's really not very visible. But, you know, that whole making it easier to wipe my ass thing might be good. That might come in handy, so maybe. Maybe I'll look into that. What are your thoughts on people having to take an IQ test before they're allowed to vote? I don't know if they should have to take an IQ test, but I've always thought that maybe like some sort of general knowledge exam might come in handy. Like, you know, just like maybe if you don't know the names of both candidates running before you go vote, you shouldn't be able to vote. Maybe if you don't know, like, you have to name at least 5 founding fathers or something. You know, there should be, like, some fucking exam, because it seems like there's just a lot of people like, I'm gonna vote. What you gonna vote for? I don't know. I'm just gonna go in there and just vote for the name that looks prettiest. And then, of course, there's people who just vote a straight ticket, like, I'm a Republican and I'm voting Republican, or I'm a Democrat and I'm gonna vote me Democrat. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, IQ tests take a long time, but a general knowledge exam, like, name fucking 5 founding fathers. If they can't do that, then fuck them. But obviously, it should be a different question every year. I don't know. Could you show me your mouse pad? Okay. A lot of people don't even have mouse pads anymore, but this is mine, and I don't have it because I need it, because, I mean, like, the mouse works just fine on the bare surface, but I do like the little gel thing for my wrist. So that's why I even have a mouse pad. This person has multiple questions, which normally isn't allowed, but whatever, we'll just go with it. Hey TJ, as a film fan, I've some questions for you about films. 1. What's the most bizarre / surreal / strangest professional film you've ever seen? Probably Santa Sangra by Alejandro Jodorowsky. I can't fucking pronounce his name. But Santa Sangra. It's very strange. It involves amputees and bad boys getting their girlfriends murdered by their mother, and it turns out that, well, I shouldn't tell you what it turns out, but there's a twist at the end, and it's all very strange and bizarre. What films do you like that are generally considered bad, and why? I like all of the Resident Evil movies, and I mean, I know they're bad. I should by all means hate them, but they just so embrace their own awfulness. To me, I watch them and I'm like, this movie knows it's bad. This movie is not trying to be good, and it just goes so far over the top that I totally forgive it for being shit. I don't know, and there's just it's just charmingly bad. I don't know. It's a guilty pleasure of mine. I don't even know I'm trying to explain or justify it, but it just is. Do you like modern grindhouse style films, e.g. Reservoir Dogs, 8mm, Machete? I sometimes do and I sometimes don't. I think the best I've seen it done was Hobo with a Shotgun. I really don't think of Reservoir Dogs as a grindhouse style movie, by the way. But 8mm was horrible. I don't even know if I would consider that grindhousey. Machete was not as good as I thought it was going to be. I liked Death Proof, and I liked Hobo with a Shotgun, and I've liked a few others that I've seen, but for the most part, I think that actual, genuine grindhouse films are more fun than watching, modern-day tributes to grindhouse. Have you seen the Saw films, and if so, what do you think of them? I've seen the first 3. I thought the first one was, it was pretty good for a horror movie, because usually horror movies are not very good, but it had, it kind of had an interesting thing going. The twist was pretty stupid, but whatever, it's a horror movie, what do you expect? Saw 2 I actually thought was really good. I thought Saw 2 was pretty cool. I liked Saw 2. I actually thought the twist in that was pretty fucking ironic and interesting. Then I saw the third one, and I was like, this is just shit. This is horrible. I'm never watching another one of these again. It's run out of steam. And after I watched my friend Adam Johnson's recap of all the Saw movies, I am very glad that I gave up after part 3. Would you agree? The end of The Dark Knight Rises is a daydream fantasy of Alfred's and Batman did die. It just fits Nolan's style, I feel. No, I kind of just take it literally. I just accept the premise that Batman survived. It really doesn't make sense if you actually watch him flying the plane and getting, the crash. I mean, they did discover that the autopilot was fixed. I just don't know how Batman would have gotten out of the plane. Like, he fucking set the autopilot and jumped into the ocean and fucking swam for shore and then started a new life. It really doesn't make any sense. I mean, especially because he would still be right next to the nuclear blast. But nonetheless, I just accept that Batman survived. You know why? Because he's fucking Batman. Like, if anyone can fucking jump out of a fucking jet and swim to shore and fucking somehow not get radiation poisoning, it's fucking Batman. So I totally accept it. Besides, you can't fucking kill Batman. I don't fucking believe. I mean, if Nolan had genuinely killed Batman and just been like, Batman's dead, I'd have been like, fuck this. No, you're wrong. Batman's not dead. You can't fucking kill Batman. He's a symbol. You can't even kill Bruce Wayne, because Bruce Wayne is part of the Batman symbol. So fuck you. So Batman survived. When did you... No, I'm not reading that one. Fuck you. We've had enough butt stuff questions. I could ask a great question, but you're just going to answer them at random, so there's no point. You fucking idiot. If you'd have asked a question there, it would have been answered. But because you just chose to do your stupid little social commentary like, it's just pointless to even try, 'cause mine will never be picked. Well, just know, you fucking moron, that if you had written a question, you would have been picked. So you fucking lost your opportunity, you dumb shit. I shouldn't have been so harsh with that. But seriously, that's what that kind of attitude fucking gets you. I sound like a fucking high school teacher. Speaking of high school, what high school in Louisiana did you go to? I'm not telling you that, because you might use it against me somehow. I don't know. I am 25, and I have been noticing my perception of time are speeding up year after year. You are about my age. What do you think of this phenomenon? You know, I've heard other people talk about it, but I've never had it. I've not started to experience it. If anything, I feel like time has gone slower and slower as I've gotten older. Like, I felt like childhood was like, pew. But then, like, around the time I turned 15, years started just going slower and slower and slower. And at this point, I almost feel like it's been 2012 for 10 fucking years. I'm just like, God damn, is it still 2012? But it's strange, because even though the years seem to take forever, it does seem like I was doing my last year-end poem for 2011 just like a second ago. But then when I think of all the stuff that happened in between, it seems like it was a really long time ago. So, like, time is a strange thing, though, and our perception of it is strange. Because, like, on one hand, it can seem like things that happened 10 years ago happened a minute ago. And then on the other hand, it can seem like yesterday was fucking a million years back. And, like, you know, so it's just very strange. Like, I guess that it all kind of just gets muddled up in your mind. What else we got? Are you particularly proud of your progress with weight loss? You know, I'm not proud, because when I dedicate myself to losing weight, and I am about to rededicate myself to it because I want to lose yet more weight than I've already lost. The way I lose weight is I have to separate my ego from the weight loss. I have to take a Zen approach. I can't have faith in myself. Because if I have faith in myself, I'm just going to fucking fold under pressure. It's just going to be like, fuck this, let's eat some chips. I have to have, instead, faith in the... It's not even faith. I have to have assurance in the science of what a diet is and what it entails, what exercise is, and the effect that it has on the body. I have to look at the hard data and just be like, okay, this is what needs to be done, this is how to achieve it, and this is what I must do. So I don't allow myself to feel pride at my successes, and I don't allow myself to feel despair at my failures. I try to approach it objectively and without emotion. And that's not how you should approach everything in life, by the way, but for me and dieting, that's just the only way I can do it. Because if I involve myself emotionally, then my resolve is only as strong as my willpower. And my willpower, well, I have tremendous willpower, but unfortunately it's a tremendous willpower to eat fatty foods. The willpower to not eat them is not so strong. Have you ever done anything? Have you ever done any of your Amazing Atheist style ranting to a live audience? I did do some Amazing Atheist type of stuff when I was in school. In like when I had to make like speeches in front of the class, I'd always try to do this kind of persona that was more, you know. And it was kind of weird because I was always the quiet kid, you know. Somewhat I would just kind of sit there and be like, And then it was time to do the speech. I'd just become really animated and fucking. And a lot of people liked what I did. I'm pretty good at making that kind of connection to people as an audience, even though I am terrible at making one-on-one connections. All right, we've almost reached the hour mark. What is your opinion of electronic music and dubstep? I actually like some of it, but I mean, I've not really like sought out, like, I'm going to listen to some electronic music, but like it'll come up on Pandora sometimes, and I'll listen to it, and some of it's pretty cool. But you know, like I said, I've never like gotten heavily into it or anything. So yeah. Hey TJ, what's your opinion of the whole legalized pot industry in Holland? I don't know nothing about it, but yeah. I mean, I don't know fucking, I didn't even know pot was legal in Holland, but yay. Let's fucking smoke more pot all the time. That's just my opinion on pot. If you were a woman, where would you stick your fingers? I don't know. In woman places. What a stupid question. You've made it apparent that we shouldn't lock away our criminals for life, but instead rehabilitate them. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Thanks. What do you think should be done about repeat offenders, like a rapist who has been in and out of jail a number of times and it just isn't working? It's not that I don't. It's not that I don't believe in life in prison. I just think that it's used far too often for people that really don't deserve it. I think prison sentences in general are a lot harsher than they need to be. I think that a lot of the things that people go to prison for are things that really they shouldn't go to prison for. It seems like a lot of things could be settled with. A lot of things shouldn't even be illegal to begin with, because they're not harming anyone else. And if you're not harming anyone else, then you're really not committing a crime, in my opinion. And then there's other things that, you know, harm other people, but it really is just more it's just a tax burden to fucking pay to keep you in some place when you're not like a direct threat to society. So instead, we should just fine people like that, or you know, find some other way of punishing them. I mean, like, honestly, as barbaric as it is, I think that there's some crimes that you'd just be better off getting lashed in the fucking public square for than spending 2 or 3 years in jail. You know, because then you're, I mean, like, when you know, if you're, at least if you're out and about in the world, I mean, you're contributing something to society. Even if you're just fucking buying, you know, playing Xbox and occasionally going to Taco Bell, at least you're fucking putting money into Taco Bell's pocket, which then they use to pay their employees, and that creates jobs and so on and so forth. I mean, at least that's a good thing. But if you're in jail, then all you are is a fucking tax burden. You're just fucking siphoning off resources. I mean, the only people you're benefiting then is the private prison industry, which is a horrible fucking industry that shouldn't even fucking exist. But I mean, obviously, people like, you know, serial rapists. I mean, you know, they need to be in jail. You don't want people like that running around society. I mean, you know, probably like when it comes to violent crimes like assault and rape and murder, then you know, you don't want to give those people too many fucking chances. I mean, it seems like you know, if you kill someone like in the heat of the moment, then you go to jail for a while and then you get out, and if you kill anyone else again, like whether it being premeditated or just in the heat of the moment or whatever, then obviously you're just the kind of person that's gonna fucking snap and kill people, and you need to be fucking locked away. I don't, you know, and I mean, maybe like in instances of premeditated murder where someone plans out someone else's death and kills them, maybe then life in prison isn't such a bad idea, or maybe, you know, you just you know, put them in prison until they get old, and then, you know, maybe put them in like a nursing home for criminals afterwards. I don't know. There's ways that we could handle things, and also our prisons are far too harsh anyway. I mean, you know, no one should be treated like a fucking animal, or have to worry about getting fucking raped or shanked or any of that horrible shit. I mean, if you're gonna have a place that people have to go because they just cannot make it in society, then it should be somewhere where they're treated, you know, somewhat civilly and have, you know, some quality of life. Otherwise, you might as well just fucking shoot them in the head. Like, if you're gonna send, I mean, like, if I think most people, if they really thought about what life in prison in America really entails, would just choose to die before going there. So yeah, that's just my opinion. Obviously, once again, I don't know why we say that. All right, I'm going to go back to the first page because we've reached the end, and we have time for one more question, perhaps, maybe two, if whatever. I've already read that. When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up? Do you think your current career is better? No, my current career is not better than being a fucking rock star, which is what I wanted to be. I wanted to fucking get on stage and be like, rah, fuck society, and then, you know, go backstage and have girls suck my dick. I mean, you know, that would have been much better. Yep. TJ, I already read that one. With all these questions, how do I keep coming upon the same fucking ones? Okay, last question, so let's make it a fucking good one. Or not. Hey TJ, my question is, when did you decided? When did you decided? When did you decided? Hi TJ, when did you decided? When did you decide to call yourself an atheist? When did you decide that there is no God? When I was about 12, I decided to call myself an atheist. I actually had to ask my mom what an atheist was first. I was driving around in the car. Well, I wasn't driving because I was 12. My mom was driving, and I was in the passenger seat. And I was like, Mom, what are people who don't believe in God called? And she said, atheist. And I'm like, I'm an atheist. And then she started crying. Oh, I failed as a mother. And I was like, okay. Which is weird because it was like one of those moments in life where you expect one thing and you get something totally different. Because I was fully expecting her to be like, you saw through the bullshit, honey. You're so clever. But instead, she's like, oh my God, no. So that sucked. And yeah, that's the hour. So hope you guys enjoyed my rambling fucking bullshit. I need to get something to fucking drink because my throat is parched.